Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is January 23rd. Today's episode is going to be actually quite a good one, actually a really good one. So we're going to be talking about yesterday's community call. We're going to be talking about negativity about Rocket Pool in the community. We're going to talk about Jasper and making some interesting statements, strong statements. We're going to talk about Liquity v2. On the Ethereum side, we've got some huge news. We've got a date potentially for Pectra. We've got a huge new organization attached to Ethereum being announced yesterday, and so much more. There's so much. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6.
Okay, so the only place to start today is with yesterday's community call. So there's been a lot of stuff happening about the community call recently, and how people just don't listen. And it was up for a grant. The GMC is deciding on what to do with this, and Ken was saying that there are potentially some changes coming through with the new grant for the community call, about how we might be moving it back to Twitter Spaces after the team got their Twitter account back, and also alternating it. So there's 1 week with a guest, and then another week just with Langers or Mav or both of them, and talking through team stuff. I think that's a really, really good idea. I really like that. I'm a huge fan of that idea. But yesterday's community call actually started, it was a really, really good community call. So just to give a little bit of context, and we're actually going to come back to this a little bit later, but there's been a lot of negativity around in the Rocket Fuel community recently. Like I mentioned that on Rocket Fuel, I think yesterday or recently, just about just how much negativity there's been. And that was brought up head on, and the team, Langers, kind of addressed this and talked about some of the grievances. So Pectra actually wasn't able to listen live because it was about 3 a.m. where he lives, but he actually then he was able to give a summary of what he heard while he was listening to it. So I'm just going to read through some of his comments to you and try to give context where it's due. So here he says, listen to the community call recording. So he said that Fidelity may come on as a node operator. Sony interested in having our ETH on their layer 2s. So the first thing was about BD, business development, with the team, and what they're doing, what kind of partnerships they're reaching out to. And Langers told us that a lot of times what happens with BD stuff is that there's non-disclosure agreements that people sign before they start discussions. So there's literally nothing they can say about that process. The second thing is that, they have so many leads and so many discussions ongoing that what ends up happening is a lot of times nothing comes of the relationships that have started. They might not come to fruition for a very, very long time. The pipeline is really long. So Langers was kind of insinuating that what happens is that, they just aren't in a position where they can really share information about the discussions and conversations they're having, because they don't want to get people to be disheartened. And that actually does make sense. Now, with that said, I think yesterday they kind of made an exception, and maybe Langers did say, they'll be less conservative going forwards potentially because of the regulatory changes in the US at least. Of course they are under Australian jurisdiction, but I think that, changes to crypto in the US will kind of echo around the world, and we might see other changes to crypto happening because of game theory stuff basically. So Langers here then was able to say that, look, we are working with different groups. We are working with different organizations. Here, Pectra sums it up saying sometimes they have to keep things to themselves because business development is commercial in nature, and they sometimes have to sign non-disclosure agreements so that we don't hear everything. And then he says, about Fidelity, they were more interested in coming on at the node operator side of things. So this is actually really, really interesting because we've been talking about staked ETFs for a while, and this was the first time we got news that there might be Rocket Pool involved in a staking ETF. Now, I don't know how far along these discussions are or what the process is, but if Fidelity are wondering about being node operators, what they're wanting to do is juice the yield for their customers. Of course, other staking ETFs, if they are solo staking it, the problem is that, their yield will be a lot less, 30 to 40% less. And those are the margins that would really let Fidelity grow massively and get a lead because they'll be offering so much more yield to their customers. It might end up being the case that other other groups and other staking ETFs start looking at becoming node operators as well and trying to juice their rewards as much as they can. Now, there is a caveat here that all of this depends on RETH demand, and you need RETH demand. And that's where things like this, Sonium integration comes in potentially. This is just me speculating right now. I don't have any insider information, but to get our ETH on places like Sonium, to get it on more dApps and in lots and lots of different places, hopefully that would grow our ETH demand. And with growth of our ETH demand, then we could have a lot more scope for node operators to come online. But that was very interesting. There was some more stuff here. Pectra then says that, not Pectra says, Langer said that in good times, everyone wanted the protocol to decentralize more and the community to have more autonomy. But when the times are not good, then everybody's quick to turn on the team and say this is the team's fault. The team should be more present. This team should be more available. The team should be explaining more. So that was definitely an interesting gripe. Then they talked about the Rocket Pool Twitter account and how Mav has come up with a content schedule, but they are limited in what they can say on the official account because of like what they're deemed as like regulations and like limits on what they can and can't say. However, they are trying to be less conservative, and they still have to worry about local regulatory stuff. So even though in the US, we're in crime season now and you can do whatever you want pretty much, maybe in Australia it's not crime season yet, although I think they've got an election this year, so the opposition party may be a pro-crypto party, so we might see changes there as well. But then here there's some more information about how the team and the community have kind of worked together in terms of BD work. So where the team can't do the work for whatever regulatory reasons they think of, they're putting that onto the GMC, and the GMC have hired Alpha Growth, and Grant is basically figuring out what the team can do and what you can send to Alpha Growth and the community. Dr. Doofus here was kind of explaining some things as well, but that's fine, you can go and read those comments yourselves. And then they were talking about here Etherealize. I'm going to learn how to pronounce that very soon, but that is something that we're going to talk about later in the episode. But it looks like the team will reach out to them as well, and they tend to have good relationships with institutions who they meet at events. Next we had, there's always a question when people come to Rocket Pool about who they can talk to, who has authority. They ask for the team, who send them to the DAO, who sometimes send them back to the team. It's very circular, but because people expect the DAO to act like a company, but we're not a company. Grant handholds people through the process when he can, and tries to find out the best way of getting things to go through. Pectra says often the people who come, their value isn't overly strong, and that tends to fall flat. You have to engage a lot of people to make it happen, but that's a byproduct of being a DAO. And then Dr. Doofus came on the call to kind of explain some things about how the GMC and the PDAO isn't really in a position right now where they can take on marketing stuff, and that's for legal reasons. About basically because of the Samuels versus Lido DAO case, it's limited in what it can do until we get some legal clarity, which hopefully should happen pretty soon, and then we can start changing the way that the PDAO communicates with the wider world. And then one of the things that Dr. Doofus kind of highlighted was that the management committees are not steering committees. We don't have a steering committee, and we might need a steering committee. Anyway, Pectra then summarizes Langer's again, saying people on the committees have been advised to be careful about what to say. They're scared to do things and are keeping many things to themselves. So that, of course, is clear. And then here, this is just Pectra kind of giving his own opinions. He says Rocket Pool used to co-market with other teams, and now what we're doing is calling in favors to amplify our messages. So that's pretty cool. And the team is working with Bankless to try to cover Saturn more deeply. So with Saturn Zero's coverage, they made some mistakes in their explanation, and hopefully they can fix that going forwards. And the team will pay the Defiant for a campaign about Saturn as well, which is really cool. And there's regulatory uncertainty about liquid staking. Partners have explicitly told this to the team. In some cases, they can't go anywhere near liquid staking until this uncertainty is cleared up. And hopefully, this is one of the areas that we'll be getting some regulatory clearance, or at least some guidance from the SEC in the US, which hopefully will open up liquid staking for a lot more agencies who can then come to Rocket Pool. Hopefully, that would be pretty exciting. There's the Langas told us about how the team has good relationships with lobbying groups in the US and in Europe as well, and they actually hired hired a legal counsel about tokenomics and just kept them on retainer as well in general, and they're going to try to figure out like the best path for value capture in Saturn 2, which is pretty exciting. And then they want to talk to them about the tokenomics changes. And one of the lawyers they've been working with was the previous chief legal officer for Polygon and Aave, and the name of that company is Arcturus, so you can check that out. This is then Langas is on a community call every 2 weeks, so forward all questions, gather questions for Langas, and then he can try to answer them within whatever constraints he has. So community calls will likely move back to the Twitter Spaces now that they've got the account back, more attendance there. Saturn 1 may help us with the RETH peg, at least in the short term. And when people will migrate, they'll use Troopers exit ARB. That's the idea Langas had, that we might be able to get rid of the ARB in the short term. So in that period where people move from the current regime to Saturn 1 regime on megapools. And then Lang is saying that we hopefully don't need to limit the mini pool queue, but there is an option to turn off the new mini pools coming online, so that might help the protocol and the peg. And then there's some more here as well. Megapool queue won't be fed until the current queue is done. So if people are in the current queue, then they'll come online before the megapool queues come online. They'll go to the back of the queue basically, and that's when Pectra stopped listening to them. That's when the call finished. So thank you, Pectra, so much for that amazing summary. I listened to the call early this morning, especially those first 15 minutes where Langas was talking about the different BD stuff that's been going on, and like all the relationships that they're building and what they're kind of pursuing right now. That does honestly sound very promising, and I think it's a nice balm to some of the concerns that people had. But let's see what comes of that. Okay, moving on, let's have a look what we have here. Okay, so speaking about the negativity, yesterday was the day of people complaining, pretty much. There was a lot of negativity around in Moon's trading thread, actually, which is what it was. And one of the things that was interesting piece of information that people found was that when you do a Google search for staking ETH, Rocket Pool is actually not one of the top results. It actually appears on page 4, so you can go and have a look. And people were then complaining about how the team needs to pay for or use more search engine optimizations, and the .net URL isn't good, but how it's on page 4 of Google results. But if you do a search for stake Rocket, then it comes up as result number 1. And how like other basically groups are further down. So this was I thought it was interesting. If you do a search for Ethereum staking pool, then Rocket Pool does come up. If you do, but then also people complaining about Rocket Pool on Reddit comes up as well. That was an interesting piece of information there. But maybe it would be worthwhile for the team to maybe engage in some search engine optimizations, or to do more sponsored links on Google for keywords like staking Ethereum, staking ETH, like for that kind of stuff, and then Rocket Pool can be the top result. Hopefully that might draw some more eyes to Rocket Pool. Okay, so another thing that happened here was Moon, who a lot of people in the Rocket Pool community know from Moon's trading thread, which is actually about trading, the Elliott Wave thread. And Moon here actually exited all his validators yesterday, and he had the idea of selling his RPL and using it to buy tokens, basically that he thinks are going to do well in a potential bull market. Moon has been a node operator for over 2 years, so it's a shame that he is stopping being a node operator now. But I think this was part of the malaise basically that's kind of been going around, and a bunch of people are talking about exiting their validators. They're just unhappy with the RPL price and the ETH price, like we talked about in yesterday's episode. But this whole conversation in Moon's trading thread kind of started yesterday with Sneaky Ninja Guy asking Meek, he says, why are we not cooking? And he replied by saying, I ask this every day. And then he started talking about Rocket Pool, and he says, we're definitely not cooking with RPL ever because it's rotten and you can't cook or serve rotten food. And yeah, that basically just started a spiral of negativity. Then Moon said that, the RPL charts for technical analysis don't look good. And it looks quite like a series of failed breakouts, like the price trying to move up but not being able to sustain it, and just people selling into any positive movement. And then this started a many hours long discussion about where Rocket Pool is failing, and that included things like business development, like BD, marketing, just a whole lot of things, like many things. So this was kind of the context in which Langas kind of came out with his statements and kind of made his expressions and kind of understanding of what the team is doing and what's happening with the protocol. But a lot of comments here, like Ludi was saying, honestly, you're better off dumping whatever RPL you can into some solid alts before the next wave moves up in the crypto market. And you can make 3 to 5x, and RPL will not outperform the rest of the market this cycle. And then this is when Moon was talking about exiting, his mini pools earlier than planned, and capture the ARB opportunity with the exit ARB potentially, but also buy other tokens with his RPL bag. And then Bossy said, what are you going to buy? And he said Link. And then he was sharing his analysis with this. But the general idea here was that there's a lot of negativity about Rocket Pool and about RPL, and people were just kind of getting into this doom cycle, and it was quite upsetting, I guess, but also sadly, I think a reflection of what's been happening with crypto recently, and some of those negative feelings about ETH and RPL. Okay, so Langas came out fighting and gave some really interesting answers and information. Jasper then backed that up today or late last night, saying that our ETH renaissance is starting, and then here 0x Chimera says, did I miss any news? And Jasper said that the Neso have finished their selling because they put the rest of their RETH into Eigenlayer. Liquity V2 launched today. We're going to be talking about that next. And then also he says that our ETH exit ARB is cooking. We've got a bunch of node operators who have exited their validators already, and they will use the exit ARB as their exit, which will help get them some money, but also help our ETH come back to its peg. And then he said secret news. So this is really cool. So the 0x Chimera replied, did you get did a new RETH exit ARB tool get built, or is it people doing it manually? And he says secret news. Can I find out about that looking through trading, or is it actually secret? And Jasper says yes, there's a working tool now, and he says you can get broad ideas of what the secret is by checking trading. Now, we know that Jasper had reached out to the team at World Liberty Finance a few days ago, so I'm not sure if he's cooking something around that, but that is definitely interesting, and I'm really hoping that Jasper's secret news ends up being something really cool. Okay, and then he actually someone asked him, Ethereum Bull said, it sounds like a bunch of wishy-washy to me, we're trying to do this and we're trying to do that, in response to Langas on the community call, but also some of the change in sentiment potentially. And Jasper says, give me 2 weeks, and if our ETH hasn't turned around, then you reserve every right to shit on us. So that was actually a very, very interesting perspective that Jasper here presented. So I'm really, really interested to see what Jasper is saying. And here, he says that the DPEG bottom is already in with the exit ARB, and the demand is now coming. So, we peaked at 0.927% DPEG. And if you look at what it looks like today, as of a few minutes ago, we're at 0.76. So we've gone down nearly 200 basis points, which is pretty good. And that hopefully will just keep getting better in the days to come. So if we get that going and we hopefully get some interest in our ETH, then we could potentially see a move towards getting our ETH back to peg. As you can see, Wrapped ST ETH is at peg, Swell's ETH is closer to peg, and Coinbase's ETH is closer to peg as well. So those are some of the things that Jasper's kind of hyping. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. So I'll definitely keep you all in the loop. Okay. So I've been talking about Liquity a lot recently. That's just because it's awesome. But Liquity actually launched today. So they said that happy launch day. Please be aware of two things. Redemptions are throttled for the first 48 hours. So if you have a position and you set the interest rate incorrectly, hopefully there's some protections against you getting redeemed against for the first 48 hours. But be careful with where you set your interest rate. And then the multiply feature and closed loan with collateral are not enabled. Both will be live in the coming weeks though. So that's the leverage long feature, the multiply one. So that will be coming in the coming weeks. So that's pretty cool. And here Liquity then released a tweet thread about their version 2 being live, and they said that Liquity v2 is live on Ethereum mainnet. Borrow on your own terms with user set interest rates, hold a deposit bold, an immutable stable coin with real yield, stake the Liquity token to direct protocol incentivize liquidity, participate in the wider V2 friendly fork ecosystem. So they've got a tweet thread here where they kind of talk about what's happening, how it's all going to work. Like I said, I've covered this on Rocket Fuel a whole lot recently, so you guys can go and have a look at it yourselves, but it's actually really cool. So awesome stuff. And then if you actually have a look at their dashboard, which they have decentralized front ends, by the way, none of these front ends are run by the team. Here you can see that the our ETH supply so far, the pool size is 169,000, and they've got 792,000 in Wrapped ST ETH and 802,000 in ETH. So those are some of the the numbers coming into their pool so far. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. Actually, I don't think that's right. No, that's not right. That's the stability pool for if you put your boulder there, you can buy the RETH at a discount if there's a what's his name, if there's a redemption. That's something I have to keep an eye on. I talked to Sam earlier today, and he said that there's a Dune Analytics dashboard that's coming up that will tell you about which protocol has how much staked and what it's all deposited and borrowed against, and what that all is looking like. So once I get that information, I'll share that with you all. But I think that these numbers here, the pool size numbers, are not correct in terms of how much has been minted. I think it's more than that. So once I get those numbers, I'll definitely let you know. Yeah, over here, you can't see it on your screen, but right at the bottom, it says that TVL right now is 15 million. So TVL is looking like it's growing. So those pool numbers definitely don't make sense because they add up to less than 2 million. So yeah, that's the issue there. As soon as I get the numbers, I'll share them with you all, and we can see just how much our ETH is being gobbled up by Liquity V2. Oh yeah, and this was earlier today. So at this point, just as the protocol had launched, there was actually more RETH than Wrapped ST ETH in the protocol at the time. Right now, I don't have up to date numbers, but as soon as I get those, I'll share those with you all. Okay, let's move on to some Ethereum news now. So here, Christine Kim had news of an all-core devs call that took place today. And the summary here says that the devs are targeting, but is not confirmed, a Pectra upgrade on March 11th, 2025. So there's a quick summary of what happened in all-core devs number 149. So newfound bugs in Pectra DevNet 5, and then Pectra DevNet 6 coming out. And the full write-up here from Christine Kim will come out tomorrow, but it looks like they've got a timeline. Nixo actually provided a little bit more information here. So Nixo said that DevNet 6 will likely launch next week. So proposed timing for Pectra is Sepolia on February 12th, Haleshki on February 19th, and then mainnet on March 11th. But like Nixo says here, it's not final, it's just an ambitious goal. So what have we learned? Then there's information about what's going to go in there, etc. So definitely check that out, and you can you can have a look. But one interesting piece of information that came up here, Nixo says, is that should we make blobs a validator control parameter the way gas limit is right now? So devs were very interested in this idea, but also wary of this because of the potential impact on home stakers. So for example, if too much of the network made the blobs even higher, like, going up to 12 or God forbid 18, then a lot of home stakers might suffer under the weight of the required bandwidth. And I think the idea is that we really need pure gas before we can really start cranking up the blob count. But yeah, the fact that this idea is starting to percolate is, I think, a really interesting one. Okay, big news from Ethereum. And over the last few days, we've had Vitalik and Joe Lubin and a bunch of other people kind of teasing that, things are in the works, things are happening, like just be a tiny bit patient, like, the pressure is fine, but don't become rude and don't become like belligerent because things are actually happening. You just have to wait a tiny little bit. Well, we actually got a huge piece of news today of Etherealize. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's fine. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it Etherealize. Now, this is an institutional marketing and product arm for the Ethereum ecosystem. So this is an announcement of this new group. Their goal is to accelerate adoption by bringing institutions to Ethereum, the digital economy of tomorrow. All roads flow through ETH, and we'll show the world why. Here's our plan. So before I show you their plan, I think this is absolutely wonderful. There's an anecdote that's been going around for a while about Wyoming, and Wyoming kind of being interested in having a Wyoming digital dollar, like a central bank digital currency style Wyoming owned digital dollar. And they were one of the first, because they're kind of on the forefront of this crypto stuff. They were one of the first groups that were like, we're interested in this, and we want to kind of explore this idea. And what happened is they invited people to come and talk to them about it and kind of like pitch their ideas. And one of the glaring omissions was that there was no one from Ethereum there, representing Ethereum, the protocol, to talk about, building this digital dollar on Ethereum. And since I heard that anecdote, I was so upset. Like, I felt like, the best technology is right there. It's just, we literally have no one, being evangelical about it, right? And trying to get people on board. And that was a huge loss. And it seems like other people had the same idea that I did at that time. And here they have now put together this group. So they're saying that this is Etherealize is a hub for content for TradFi and ETF issuers and for the broader public to learn about the Ethereum economy. And Ethereum is ambitious, the operating system for the global economy. And they set up a dashboard that we're going to have a look at next or soon. And they said that beyond content, they'll also be building. So they want to build apps, they want to build a whole lot of stuff. And they're actually going to work with Wall Street firms to make that happen. And this is lastly, the Ethereum and ETH need more vocal proponents. So Ethereum is the most battle-tested blockchain with the most assets, the most institutions, the best regulatory standing, but growth won't happen by itself. We need to dual-track corporate and policy adoption. There's more there as well. You can read that. And then standing on the shoulders of giants, the team members have a combined 200 years of experience working in TradFi and crypto. And Wall Street is merging with the best of Ethereum ecosystem as one team. So they're actually going to have, I think, 8 or 9 people working on the team full time. They're going to be based in New York, like pretty much on Wall Street, I think. So they can take meetings with all the financial firms, companies, go and talk to them. And they will be right there for any news. So we've had, I remember once there was some Ethereum news. I'm not sure exactly what the news was. It was maybe a hard fork or some kind of ETF news, I think it was. Yeah, ETF, ETH ETF on the process of getting, right on the verge of getting approved, or it had been approved and we were just waiting for it to go live. And the person that the news, I think it was MSNBC, the person that MSNBC brought on was, it was Pompliano, who is, a Bitcoin maxi and just hates ETH pretty much. And that is the person who went on to represent Ethereum. And it was just trash. Like, it just didn't make sense. And just a few days later, we had Vance Spencer on the news show as well. And it was just an absolute breath of fresh air for someone who actually understands Ethereum and uses Ethereum to go there and talk about Ethereum. That was magnificent. So that, I think, is going to be huge in getting these conversations going and getting the word of Ethereum out there. This is massive. This is absolutely gargantuan. So Anthony Sassano then says, excited that this is finally out of stealth. ETH will become Ethereum ETH's marketing arm to Wall Street and get them to truly understand the value proposition. It's a crack team of 8 full-time employees based in New York, led by someone with deep ties to TradFi, and it's funded by Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation. So the Ethereum Foundation is putting money to this. It's just they don't do it themselves, but they are, giving money to others to go and do that. They've got a dashboard here. I haven't had a chance to play around with the dashboard too much yet, but it looks like they've got information here about validating like the staking on Ethereum, supply and issuance issues, supply chain since the merge, like is it going up or down? Ethereum economy, the most secure blockchain for high value assets, Ethereum layer 2 ecosystem, how that's looking, and like fee revenue, fees, and I'm sure they're going to be adding a whole lot more here as well. So this will be a nice stop for people to come and find out what's happening with Ethereum and what numbers are looking like and what everything is looking like. But this is awesome. One of the things that happened over the last few days was when people were annoyed with the Ethereum Foundation, there were a small number of people who kind of wanted to protest that, and they removed the .eth from their names. One of the biggest, the second biggest, I think, person to do that was this account, Anti-Prosynthesis, who I normally absolutely love, the content they put out, but it was kind of disappointing, really, in all honesty, that people were taking this step. But anyway, based on this news, Anti-Prosynthesis they said the .eth goes back, the ticker is ETH, and here the person was like, at this point this is just farming, and he's like, it ain't much, but it's honest work. So yeah, but there were some interesting takes here. One of them was Anthony Sassano here, and this kind of ties in. So BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink, now that we've had a change in government in the US, he says that he wants the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks, and this is the kind of thing that we want this ETH Realize to be talking about. So Anthony Sassano says the CEO of BlackRock wants the tokenization to happen right now because he knows the immense value it can bring to not only his company but all of TradFi. It's going to happen on Ethereum, the world's most secure and decentralized settlement layer. And then DC investor here had an interesting point as well. He says there's no time to waste. All of Ethereum needs to be full speed ahead with getting TradFi onto public Ethereum layer 1, onto existing layer 2s, and getting them to make their own L2s. This is Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world. Today said at the World Economic Forum that he wants securities on chain. This is a golden moment in a new, highly crypto-receptive presidential administration. What Larry wants, Larry will get. The value prop is instant settlement, being able to use the assets in global liquidity pools with the safety and reliability of Ethereum. This is a tens of trillions of dollars market. Every DeFi team and every L2 team, etc., needs to help hammer this home. I'm already imagining it's a key priority for ETH Realize. Early signs look good with Deutsche Bank and others choosing Ethereum, but this is a critical network effect which Ethereum must win. So what's really interesting here is I think there are a couple of emerging narratives now where the Ethereum community as a whole is saying this is something Ethereum must win. One of those, of course, is the onboarding of TradFi into crypto rails that we've just been talking about, and another one is like the space of AI agents, because people are imagining that in the future the vast majority of transactions on chain will happen using AI agents, and to get those to be working on Ethereum rails would be the best that we could do. So that's definitely going to be one to look out for. Okay, we've had some more developments in the get Danny Ryan to become the executive director of the Ethereum Foundation. And here we see that someone set up a voting system where you can actually just go and vote using your ETH to signal how much you want Danny to be the executive director and the sole executive director. And this vote distribution so far is like a Rocket Pool DAO vote sometimes, where there's 99.98% of people have said yes, and they've voted with 33,000 ETH to say yes, they want Danny Ryan, and 7 ETH has voted to say no. So 254 people have voted, with 7 voters saying no and 247 voters saying yes. And you can see this coming through. So this is just a signaling vote. There's no power behind this, but it's just to show that people who actually have ETH are saying that, we want Danny Ryan to be the executive director of the Ethereum Foundation. Okay, and then here, fabda.eth showed a little bit of information. So this is a snapshot voting pretty much, so you don't need gas. And it's not only ETH that you can vote with, but you can also vote with rETH. Also other tokens that are ETH-like tokens. So that is actually really, really cool to see. So great stuff about being able to use your rETH here. Okay, I had this really interesting post here, but I'm a bit short on time, so I can't really delve into it too much. But Credible here has done technical analysis that shows that the flippening of Ethereum, flippening Bitcoin is on the charts here. And going back all the way to 2016, 2017, when Ethereum like almost flipping Bitcoin, the first time. Since then, like they're showing a chart that shows this giant accumulation period building, and ETH potentially being on the verge of breakout of that, which will lead us to it flipping Bitcoin. That would be awesome. But here, this kind of understanding their reasoning, and yeah, it's all technical analysis mumbo jumbo. But I thought Pteris would really enjoy listening to that. So you can check out the links below if you want to read the arguments. Yeah, and then this is just people saying that, it looks like there's been a switch in sentiment right now, and it looks like Ethereum is ready to boom because last week, sentiment hit a low, and it looks like that's been changed now. So the sentiment has changed, and even the technical analysis is showing bullish signs. So that hopefully, can happen for Rocket Pool soon as well. I think yesterday's community call and Jasper's like bullish comments today hopefully can give people a little bit of hope that good stuff is ahead for Rocket Pool. Okay, talking about Ethereum and good stuff ahead for it. Well, right now it's at all-time highs, and here Leon shows a post, and he's head of research at On-Chain HQ, showing that L2s are firing at like all-time highs and going at over 200 transactions per second. So if we have a look at L2 beat, you can kind of see the chart. Sorry, my face is blocking it, but yeah, you might be able to see it just over my head now, but it's like up and to the right, and there are a few spikes above, the pretty solid gradient line of rapid growth for Ethereum layer 2s, but it's just looking fantastic. It's just looking really beautiful. So here you go, like, you can see that there's about 15 transactions per second on Ethereum. On Base, there's 126. Tyco, number 3 with 32. That's awesome. Then Arbitrum 1, and then a whole bunch of others as well. So I really want to see more growth on all of these. I think that would be absolutely awesome. And then we actually are going to finish the episode here with X post boost. So if you see a tweet or something that you want to boost, then there's a thread in the Rocket Pool community where you can now put your tweet there, and then people can go and like and retweet that if you want to get the message out, if they agree with your message. So that's a really cool thing. So on that note, guys, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.